All right, here we go. It is time to get rolling. 90 minutes. And we're excited about it. Pat Dooley is going to join us in just a matter of moments. It is Off the Hook Sports. Let's go.
Hey guys, you ready to let the dogs out?
What? Do what?
Let the dogs out. You know, like, ooh, let the dogs out. Ooh, ooh.
Off the Hook, airing on offthehooksports.com. Your home for real news, real opinions, and what really matters about Tennessee athletics. Always available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, iHeart. Like, share, follow, subscribe. Always available wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
Well, I have to begin before we get to Pat Dooley with a very, very, very special message to the one, the only Amanda LaFratta, who is celebrating her birthday today. Happy birthday, Amanda LaFratta. How are you?
I am doing well, Dave. I am 36.
Look at that. Just share that. Women don't do that. Why? What's that?
I've made it 36 years. I'm pretty proud of it.
I'm pretty proud of 48. There, especially recently, been some times I wasn't sure that I was going to make it there. So we usually begin the show with the down and dirty at 30, all that's going on with Tennessee football, and we're going to get to that. Hey, they play Florida this week. That's a pretty big thing. We'll have an update on Jabari Small and his injury situation. Also a big recruiting weekend. We'll get to all of that, but I want to get to Pat Dooley, and Pat Dooley's appearance is brought to you today by Honey Bee Coffee. Amanda, why is Honey Bee Coffee so good? You make it simple. It's
just good coffee. I mean, it really is. It's, 5%, top 5% of the beans in the world, but veteran owned. But at the end of the day, it's just good coffee.
All righty, a bunch of birthday wishes on board for Amanda, so keep those flowing as we bring in Pat Dooley with WRUF. And man, Pat, he knows as much about Florida football as any man could. Pat, how are you, sir?
Good. I don't want you to think that I'm wearing my a Florida shirt or a Tennessee shirt here, this orange. This is Boise State, so.
Okay, yeah.
When they beat FSU a few years ago, I bought a T-shirt.
So you're not like Kentucky, some people in the Kentucky basketball media that wear blue to games. You're not like.
I'm not like at SEC Media Days when there's guys with Arkansas hats on asking questions of the coaches. How does it feel to be great?
How does it feel to be great? You're my favorite. All right, Pat, let me just tell everybody what all you're up to nowadays. Fantastic career with the Gainesville Sun for years. I would talk to you, and now you're with WRUF. How do people follow your work, first of all, before we start to break down Tennessee, Florida?
Yeah, I mean, about a year and a half ago, I decided they offered a huge buyout, and I wanted to get out of the business, as many of us have. I mean, it's just it's a mess, and it's a bigger mess every day. And I was at that age where I could do it, so I did. But then a lot of opportunities came up. So I write for Gators Wire 3 times a week. I write for WRUF. I have a radio show 5 days a week. I do a podcast twice a week. I get Spurrier every Monday for 25 minutes. How about that? How good is that?
Holy cow.
And then and I'm also writing for the Alumni Magazine, and I'm doing freelance stuff. I wrote for the Wall Street. So I'm staying really busy, but I'm doing stuff I like to do, and it's a lot more fun. And meanwhile, the Gainesville Sun, they've gone through 3 sports editors and 4 beat writers because nobody wants to work there.
That sounds familiar, Pat.
Every paper in America is like that, yeah.
Yeah. Just with me, it was 2010, and let's just find my way. So, Pat, you are close to Steve Spurrier, but you're close to the Florida football program. And I was listening to another station coming in, not that people shouldn't listen to Off the Hook Sports, and also go to our website, offthehooksports.com, for Tennessee coverage. Hit that like and subscribe button, please share. But you know both of these programs well, and especially Florida. And the debate coming in was that this is Tennessee's chance. Two actual topics I wanted to throw your way. But number one, this is Tennessee's chance because Billy Napier will eventually, maybe not this year, maybe not next year, build Florida into an elite program. Are you buying that notion?
I think the possibility is there. Well, let's first of all, it's a double-edged question there because
Right.
this is Tennessee's best chance in a while. But don't forget that 2016 was the same thing, where it felt like they may have the better team, and then Quincy Wilson said, "A duck don't pull a truck," and then they're killing Tennessee at halftime, and fans are storming the exits to get out of. And they come back and win that game in dramatic fashion. I mean, they actually blew them out in the second half. So it feels kind of like that year. Do I think Billy can build this back to an elite program? I do believe he can. Whether he will or not remains to be seen. The recruiting, I know what's going on behind the scenes in recruiting, and it is a different level from what we've seen ever here, and certainly hugely different level from what Dan Mullen was doing, who didn't really like to recruit. So, no, I think he understands you got to have players, and that was the big message that I think Florida received, courtesy of Kirby Smart, when he said it after they beat Georgia beat them last year. He said, "You got to have players. You can't win with just coaching." And he basically was telling Dan Mullen, "You're a good coach, but you got to have players," and he didn't have players. So. But I mean, they're off to a great start with this recruiting class, and if they can continue to build and stack classes, you can do it through the portal, but you've got to be able to stack classes to supplement that.
No, agree with that. And the other notion that was thrown out there is, which is the better program? Now, you mentioned recruiting, and that's always going to be something that Florida is going to be able to do easily compared to other programs. But I also think covering recruiting as long as I have, the days of, hey, you got to get on a jet back in the 80s or 90s and hope that one of the boosters has one available, is pretty much over. Whether it's Clemson, Tennessee, whoever, you can get a jet and go see somebody at any point. And with social media, everybody's so much more connected. Does Florida have a significant recruiting advantage just because they have more prospects in their backyard? And then Tennessee has Nashville that's growing incredibly quickly. So I don't know that that's a big advantage like it was back when we started doing this stuff.
I still think it's an advantage to be in the state of Florida. There's more good players down here, and more of them grow up watching Florida than Tennessee. Let's face it. It doesn't mean that Tennessee can't out-recruit Florida, and they certainly can. But I think Florida is trying to get to that level where they're able to finally. This is the first time in a long time that they're getting guys to look at them. It doesn't mean they all come here that normally wouldn't look at them. So, the little things that they're doing, the attention to detail is amazing. And I heard somebody talking last night about this, how Billy Napier, the reputation on him in the Sun Belt was, if something's not working, he'll get it fixed rather than complain about it. And I think that's refreshing as well. I make this joke with Gator fans. I go, the reason they're excited is because they finally have a normal coach. And they haven't had one for a long time. I mean, certainly, Mullen wearing Darth Vader suits at press conferences. You had McElwain with the affair with the shark. Then you had Zook, who was the craziest man alive. I love Will Muschamp like a brother, but man has temper issues. And then Urban, screws weren't all tightened up in there, still aren't. So it's been a bunch of weirdo coaches, and I think this guy is very level, very even keel, and the players seem to respond to it.
Yeah. So I know one of the things you touched on was the what is it called? Now I've blanked on my question. Penalties. There we go. Penalties. Yes, and how Napier is improving in that area. How important do you think that is to the game, especially one like this one?
Well, yeah, because last year Florida, their net penalty was minus 311. So in other words, they had 3 football fields more penalties than the opponent all for the season. It was embarrassing. So far this year, they're doing better. The trouble is they've had 3 penalties on kickoff returns, which you should never get a penalty on a kickoff return because you probably shouldn't return in the first place. But other than that, I think they're 1 for every 26 plays, something like that. His goal is 1 in every 30 plays, offensive and defensive. I looked at Utah last year was like 1 in 27 with the great season they had last year. Florida last year was like 1 in 17. So anyway, that's some statistical detail to tell you what we all know. Penalties can kill you. It can ruin. It's just not a good situation to have when you get a lot of penalties going on. And they had that problem. They've had that problem for a while. So I think he has gotten them more disciplined. They don't seem to commit as many silly penalties. Not very many penalties that are, after the play type penalties. We're not seeing those. So hopefully he does bring that discipline to Florida, and he does it without yelling, which is kind of weird. I mean, he's very low key, and he just explains to him, "Look, we're not going to have this. We're not going to have it. If we have it, you're not going to play," which is what I've always said you should do. Use the bench as your motivation.
Yep. Pat Dooley with WRUF, and you said you visit with Spurrier once a week for 25 minutes. I'm sure that's a ratings booster. There's no question. What does he think of Billy Napier?
He really likes him, and I think he likes that. That Billy's personality. And he likes what he's doing with those very things, recruiting and penalties, which are to me the 2 things that were lacking and the reason Florida has been unable to maintain. Florida's had these great moments over the last 10 years. Under Muschamp, they were 1. If Notre Dame loses to USC, Florida might be in the national championship game in Muschamp's second year. McElwain wins 2 Eastern Division championships and is out the next year. Mullen goes to 3 straight New Year's 6 bowl games and then is out the next year. So it's just been this kind of roller coaster, which already this season has been. But I think they're, so Spurrier really likes him, and he likes the discipline. He likes that. He told me this the other day. He goes, these coaches that are yelling and screaming at guys, all the time. Players don't want to play with them for them now. I mean, they want to play for guys that just talk to them and relate to them as a human being. So, of course, I did point out to him that he once told Danny Werfel it wasn't his fault. It was Steve's fault for putting him in the game. But, I mean, so and there's another one I can't say on the air that he said to Danny one time. Of course, Danny let it all kind of go in one ear and out the other. But, yeah, he really likes him. And, of course, he liked Mullen, too, because Mullen had that great offensive mind. But that was the only thing he had. He had great offensive mind.
Did Steve get that hip fixed? I saw him in media days a few years ago, and I had hip replacement surgery, too. So, he looked pretty rough there. Is he doing all right now?
Well, it's a weird dynamic in that he's still limping pretty bad, but he says it doesn't hurt. It's just the way he has to walk because of the hip. But he claims it doesn't hurt, but it looks like it hurts. It hurts me to watch him walk like that. But he's playing golf. I played with him the other day, actually beat him. So that doesn't happen very often. But he is getting up there in age. I mean, at some point he's going to be in his hundreds, and I'm going to go, I beat Spurrier.
Yeah. Well, and I love the fact that when I saw him when he was limping, he was bragging about the AAFL championship. I mean, the guy's so competitive. It just oozes from him.
The Apollos, man, he's got that game ball up in this restaurant here. He has this unbelievable restaurant they built at Spurrier's. That is it's the best restaurant in Gainesville and probably the best restaurant in the state. They spared no expense, and it is packed every night. And it's where all the teams come. It's where all the recruiting gets done. But it's like a museum. to Steve Spurrier, and which is pretty cool. He invited me over for beers after we played golf the other day, and it's like another museum. His whole house is like another museum. Just tells you all the accolades he's received over the years.
Somebody told me that at his restaurant there were coasters that said you can't spell citrus without the U and T, which is his old saying. Is that really true? Are there really coasters on the bar?
Well, yeah, there are coasters that but there's several different. I mean, it's not like those are the only ones, but that's definitely one of them. It's like all his funny sayings, Free Shoes University, and can't spell citrus without UT. Peyton Manning came back because he wanted to be the 3-time MVP of the Citrus Bowl. Things like
that. Okay. Let's turn it to this season. Pat Dooley joining us, and he's awesome. Covered Florida, knows it in and out.
I'm going to shift around here. The sun is coming through this.
It just looks like God's looking in on us, which is fine. So, Pat, as far as the game last week, I read your report card. Overall, you thought it was a pretty average performance. Were you surprised that, considering the Kentucky game, that Florida didn't come out and play better? And I'll be the first to tell you, I don't know South Florida up and down. I watched the game, but after, because it was at the same time as the Tennessee game. But what did you make of that game as a whole?
Well, they've got some problems, and they're not a great team by any means. They weren't going to the SEC championship game this year. They weren't going to the college football playoff. They've got some problems, and some of them are on defense and without Ventrell Miller, and they got one middle linebacker. And they're putting freshmen in there now instead to play. So without him, that was a big loss. And then Anthony Richardson, everybody has a theory on why he's gone south after a really good first game. Some people say his ankles bother him. Some people say he's got too many people in his head. The quarterback coach is telling him different things than Billy Napier, quarterback coach in Jacksonville. He's dealing with the pressure being a hometown guy. There's a million things, but he's sucked the last two games. I mean, he's just killing it. The picks he's throwing are terrible, and they were the difference in the Kentucky game. If Florida runs the ball the whole second half, they probably win the game because they've got a good running attack. But we all knew that Florida was only going to go as far as Anthony Richardson would take him. And this is where he's taken him. 2-1, unimpressive, ranked. But, that Utah win does hold a lot of water. But he was really good in the first game, really bad in the second game, and really bad in the third game. He doesn't seem to want to run. I think he's playing scared. I think he's playing not to get hurt. I think he's playing, I'm not sure what to do here, so I don't, what can I do? He's definitely not playing with the confidence that he needs to play with. In fact, this is funny. What Spurrier said to me was, you know what I would do if I was Billy Napier? I would write the word confidence on a piece of paper and hand it to Anthony Richardson and say, put that in your back pocket. Now you have confidence. And I'm like, that's not a bad idea.
I know, Amanda, I want you to jump in here. Vols Automotive Group, in part, brings you our visit with Pat Dooley right there on Callahan. It's about integrity. Vols Automotive Group also has a great service department and fantastic car selection. Amanda?
So I know you had hinted at maybe he has an injury, maybe he's, just not confident in himself, all that. From just your perspective, because we had a guy yesterday, Brandon Olson, who, documented basically what you were saying, is that in the first game he was running, in second and third he's not barely moving at all. So just from your eye test, what do you think is the problem? Just if you had to make a guess here.
Yeah, I mean, I do think he is playing without confidence, and the weird thing is, I don't know why. I mean, maybe because he had 8 months to get ready for Utah, he had confidence, and now all of a sudden he doesn't seem to have any. The weird thing is he's telling us, I've lost my confidence, and then he's telling us also, I don't want to run too much because there's nobody behind me, and there is nobody behind him. They have no backup quarterback. The backup quarterback has been hurt, had a thumb surgery, probably 2 more weeks before he comes back. So the backup quarterback is John Kitna's son, who, if he walked in here right now, nobody would know who he was. I mean, he's never played, and he's in a battle with a walk-on. That should tell you where they are at quarterback. And this is part of the roster, another part of the roster, a lot of them, where Florida's going to have to get better. They're going to have to get better players and more of them. I think what Tennessee has done through the transfer portal and through recruiting, they have built a better roster than Florida. And but to be honest with you, I would take Utah and Kentucky's rosters over Florida. So just to be in the Kentucky game and have a chance to win it, they kind of blew it there, and to beat Utah says a lot about Napier. But the roster is just so fragile right now that it's kind of hard to get too excited about this team. But hopefully they continue to build on it and build those recruiting classes.
This is something that might rub some Tennessee fans the wrong way, but I said all along, even back in the 90s, that you may have a Peyton Manning, but 1 to 85, Florida had the better roster. They had more talent for a lot of those years. Just going back over your career, how many times have you gone into a Tennessee-Florida game and thought Tennessee has more talent? Because you just said that, and that really hasn't been the case as many times as Tennessee fans might want to think.
Yeah, I do think in 16 when they won, they had more. I think in the year that they lost on the Callaway play, they were probably more talented than Florida. Butch Jones kind of mismanaged the end of that game. I know everybody's grateful he's not around anymore. Think about it.
Well, Pat, the person that did his $8 haircuts,
oh my gosh,
they're out of business. But other than that, everybody's glad he's gone.
You think about this too. In 2016, they win that game, and that's the breakthrough moment for Butch Jones, right? The next week they win on the Hail Mary at Georgia. Butch Jones is riding on top of the world. He goes 8 and 12 the rest of what and gets fired. So because he goes 4 and 4 and then 4 and 6 and gets fired. So that says a lot about the fickle world of college football. But yeah, he was on top of the world then. The 98 team was probably more talented. I mean, Florida should have won that game. They fumbled like 5 times, and the game went to overtime. But those things happen. I mean, it kind of like every game, as I like to say, comes down to a handful of plays and a handful of seasons. And I think in the case of Florida Tennessee, it's almost always just a few plays that would separate them. Whether it was a heave to cleave, whether it was Jabbar Gaffney not catching the ball in the end zone, and the Vanderbilt official giving it to Florida. Alma Matthews.
Yeah.
So, but there were times when Florida had dominant teams in the 90s. I mean, the 2001 game, give Tennessee all the credit in the world. But Florida was a better team, and they were playing at home. But Tennessee, Travis Stevens went nuts. So, I think in the 90s, the talent level was very comparable. I think when Mullen was there, or when Meyer was there, Florida kind of jumped ahead. And then with these other coaches that have been around, it's kind of been it's dependent on who the coach was at Tennessee as much as anything. It was Derek Dooley, not so good. Butch Jones would kind of go up and down. But I would say, look, there's a reason why Florida's won 16 out of 7. They've had better players most of the time. But there have been a few times when I thought Tennessee would win, and this is definitely one of them.
Yeah, and I thought the 98 was kind of a coin flip, and really we could break down the rosters and argue that Florida had more talent than 98, but Tennessee did get those fortunate turnovers. And Ventrell Miller, what are you hearing about him? He's the guy at Mike, middle linebacker, that is going to be putting Florida's defense in, hopefully for them, the right position. And he's been banged up Do you think he plays against Tennessee, and how important is he?
Well, he's huge. He's the leader of the defense, and he's the only one who seems to know how to play middle linebacker for some reason. But and again, they're backing him up with freshmen, so that's part of the problem with the roster. You shouldn't have that much of a drop off. But he, it was funny before the game Saturday. He was out in the field in shorts, kind of warming up, just getting loose. So it's he's got an ankle and. It appeared that he was on the way to maybe coming back. They usually announce injury situations Wednesday night after practice, so we'll know more. My gut is that he won't play.
Wow.
Well, when you have an ankle and you can't play if it's tender, at that position. You can play some position, you can't play that position because you're constantly having to shift and move and do different things. And but we'll see. I mean, it's just like with Jabari Small and with Cedric Tillman. We're all going to kind of wait Saturday when they kick it off. I think we'll know a lot more about it.
Yeah. So Tennessee fans mark this game on their calendar every year. Everyone knows how important this game is in Knoxville. Everyone, it's always the huge rivalry at Tennessee. I'm curious to know, and I've always wondered this from an insider's perspective in Florida, is it the same way at Florida, or is this kind of one of those games that they've kind of just pushed to the side?
No, I don't think they push it to the side, but it has gone down in terms of rivalry. It was in the 90s the biggest game of the year every year. I remember the 96 game, and Dave, you remember being there. The 96 game had so much hype that I had to turn the radio off on the way to the game. I couldn't listen to it anymore because it was going to decide the Heisman, the SEC East, the SEC, and the national championship, which it did, all of those things. And that's the third game of the year. But Florida's got, I think right now, and in fact, I did a thing on this for Gators Wire, who I also write for. I don't think I mentioned them. But on Florida's 12 rivalries, because they've got 12 rivals now, which is more than most teams have. And I think Tennessee was like number 5. It really, Georgia's won. LSU has become their number 2 rivalry. A lot of it has to do with the Hurricane game and all the bad blood that came out of that game. But LSU is definitely their number 2 rival. And then probably FSU, Tennessee kind of get blended in there. But no, they don't mark it on their calendar. I think this year, though, going into this year with it, look, Florida has the toughest September schedule of anybody in the country. Nobody can even argue. When you play number 7, you play Kentucky, who's now a top 10 team. You play Tennessee, who probably should be in the top 10 and will be if they win this game. So there's your 3 of your 4 games. And the 4th is against an in-state rival who wants to beat you more than anything in the world, which is why sometimes I wonder why Florida plays those teams. You're better off playing, East Michigan State. So, and they do have Eastern Washington coming up. So it only becomes a rivalry if Tennessee wins this game. Then it goes kind of back to being a rivalry. Right now, it feels like a rivalry because Florida fans are not optimistic they're going to win. If they can somehow win, they consider, hey, yeah, we won a rivalry game. But it's down the list. I will say that.
I have to be real honest with you. I remember the 96 game. I remember the CBS trucks pulling in. They used to pull in on Monday to do all the pregame stuff, and it was such a cool feeling. But I was a student. So as far as the actual play-by-play that might stand out in my mind, Pat, I'll be honest with you, I was incredibly intoxicated.
Yeah. Well, I was after the game, but once we got back to the lovely Hilton there in Knoxville, which I used to love to stay at. Urban Meyer kicked us out after the 2006 season. He didn't know the media stayed with the team, so he got us booted after that game.
Not right.
I'm always resenting him for that.
I didn't get booted, but I have accidentally stayed in the team hotel before.
Yes.
And there was actually one time where I walked in, I realized it was in the team hotel, and I canceled it and I went somewhere else just because especially during tough times, they didn't want to be around me, and I frankly didn't want to be around them.
Yeah, the funny thing is we had such great relationships with a lot of people in their party, the traveling party, including Jeremy Foley, who was still a very good friend of mine, and all the other people. And so we would be in the bar with them and having a great time. But the sound travels up at that airport Hilton, up because there's like a atrium, and some of the coaches were complaining they couldn't sleep. So I think that was one of that.
Okay, I'm taking up way too much of your time, Pat, but and I'm going to go off into left field because I love talking to you. So you talk about the relationship between coaches and players and the way it used to be, and you have a couple of years on me, so I'm assuming you were a part of the Skyriders tour. Were you on that?
I will say this: I participated in 1 year of the Skyriders, but it was only the gameful part of it, and I was a student at Florida. And I was in charge of getting them drunk, which is the only reason they went on the Skyriders tour in the first place. So I had to set up this bar at the Holiday Inn, and I ended up sleeping there that night because I couldn't drive home either. But that was my only. I've got stories about it that have been told to me, but I never really went on it. I didn't. I was still just in school, so I'm not as old as you think.
Well, you thought I was at the game in '96, so we look.
We just look old, is what you're saying.
I'm looking older and older by the minute. Pat, I can't see a scenario where Tennessee loses this game, other than they have poor gap integrity and Anthony Richardson beats them with his legs. And I think that is a possibility. And then obviously turnovers that you could say about any game, penalties, stupid plays, but you can say that about any game. But what scenario do you see in which Florida can actually win this game on the road and they're 10.5-point favorite? Or underdog?
I think that I think they're going to have to pound the ball. I mean, they have a good running game, and their offensive line's really good. Florida's. That's the one strength they have. All three tailbacks are really good. I love Montrell Johnson, the transfer, Trevor Etienne. Travis's brother has been incredible so far. So they've got to do that, and they've got to incorporate the quarterback run into it, and they've got to shorten the game. And that's the only path I see to winning. Now, there is that unforeseen path, and we saw this in 2002 when Ron Zook came back and they mispronounced his name in the introductions. He got all mad and fired up his team. But when it rained like crazy, one of my favorite stories from Florida, Tennessee was because Dave, when we go down to the field, the boosters and the media are in the same elevator going down. At least this is the way it used to be.
Yeah.
So we're going down. There's an older couple there, and they're complaining. And I think Casey Clausen was the quarterback on that team, and they're saying these quarterbacks from Southern California aren't used to rain. They've never seen wet balls. They don't know how to play in them. They're complaining the whole way down. The guy gets down to the bottom, and he goes, "I've lost my keys." And Mike Strange with deadpans right away. Another Tennessee turnover.
Oh, Mike.
That would always stayed with me. But, I mean, if something like that happens where it's pouring, I'm sure it's not going to be, but, and all of a sudden they kick it. Would they have 5 fumbles in that game, I think?
Yeah.
And then something like that happens. Florida has been better getting turnovers this year. The problem is they've given up a bunch. Anthony Richardson has more tackles than he does touchdown passes because he has no touchdown passes, but he's got 2 tackles on interceptions. So, yeah, that's the only path I see. I see a path where there's turnovers and Florida's able to slow the game down.
Pat, I'll tell you a funny story about those balls. You may not know this, but that was a new ball. They had switched manufacturers, and so they wanted to promote the new ball. So maybe I was working with Jimmy Himes at the time, producing his show, and I just reached out and I said, "Hey, would you like us to promote the ball on the air that it's a new ball? And this is in the off season, and we'll give away balls." And they sent 2 cases 24 footballs, okay, that I could give away on the air, which made Christmas really easy for me. Yeah, some went to listeners, some didn't. But the funny part about it is at Christmas, I had those balls, and everybody would look at them and they would say, "Is this the same ball that got fumbled 5 times in a game?" And I was like, "Don't worry about it. It's Merry Christmas. This is moving."
Yeah, they didn't want to. They probably had to return them, but they couldn't pick them up to return them. So
Nice. All right, Pat. Again, tell us where we can find you.
Yeah, Twitter at Pat_Dooley. You can read me on Gators Wire. You can read me on WRUF.com. You can listen to we have many callers from Tennessee, believe it or not, on the our WRUF 5 days a week, 4 to 6 on the tailgate. Me and Jeff Cardozo, and then the podcast is every Monday and Friday. Monday's always Spurrier Mondays, and then Friday we have great guests. So yeah, staying busy. It's a lot of fun, and I still love doing stuff like this. Coming on with guys I used to see at media days all the time.
Yeah, and
be freezing in that room.
I don't think since I've started this endeavor, I've kept anybody over 20 minutes, and you're rocking 36, and I really appreciate it. You're just that good, and I assume you won't be traveling to the game anymore.
No, well. Look, when I decided to retire, a little bit of the reason was I'd grown weary of traveling. And I used to love it. I mean, I did it for years and years and years and loved it and would argue that we should go here. But there was one day in Starkville, Mississippi, shockingly, and actually in Columbus, Mississippi, because you can't stay in Starkville. Like you can't stay in almost any SEC city. Knoxville and Nashville are like 2 of the only ones you can actually stay in.
Yep.
But I'll never forget this. I'm standing in the parking lot waiting for Robbie to come down from his room so we can go to the airport. It's 4 a.m. because there's only 2 planes out of the lovely Golden Triangle Airport, or as I call it, the Golden Showers Airport. But I'm sitting there, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm too old for this. I don't want to do this. So the travel is gone for me. I don't care about ever going. I barely go. I went to the Kentucky game this year, and went to the spring game last year. I didn't go to any other games last year. It's so much easier to write at home. And, I don't have to be there. I get the Zoom links. And it's a lot more fun to do it that way. I don't miss that part of it. I don't miss the travel at all. Although I did love going to Knoxville. Knoxville's a beautiful city. It's one of the best. I mean, there are not a lot of great SEC cities. I would go Athens, Nashville, Knoxville, and those 3 that may be the list right there.
Yeah, I like Baton Rouge personally, but
yeah, Baton Rouge is weird because it's kind of spread out,
Yeah.
and you don't. There's not really like that downtown type of vibe to it, but and the other thing is Oxford. We never see Oxford because when you would again have to stay in Memphis, nobody can stay in Oxford, and you would drive right around the city and right into the stadium. That's the way they would tell you. So you never really got to see downtown Oxford. But I hear it's really nice. Of course, we only been there 3 times.
Yeah. Hey, Pat, again, great stuff, man. Sorry to keep you this long, but I just absolutely love
I got
talking
nothing
to
to do today except finish up one story and then go do radio. That's it. That's all I got. So I can talk to you all day.
I'll let you go. Keep being you, man. And something crazy happens and Tennessee doesn't pull off the win, I might give you a shout next week and talk about the aftermath. But greatly appreciate it. Happy for you that things are going well, and I will talk to you soon.
All right. We'll see you guys.
Appreciate
Great talking to you.
Yeah.
Great
Pat,
talking to you.
so he doesn't think Ventrell Miller is going to play. That's the first time that, well, actually, we got somewhat criticized because on one of our message boards, because the gentleman who we had on yesterday was Ben Olson with Locked on Gators. He hinted that Ventrell Miller might not play. And somebody had said, that's the first I've heard of that. And I'm telling you, Tennessee fans, he is key. He calls the defense. He's the quarterback of the defense. And for somebody else to say that, somebody that knows Steve Spurrier, that is still tied into the program, he's not just throwing that out there.
No.
That's
I mean, he's not. And it's almost like a relief, I think, for Tennessee fans, but at the same time, it's, you're going, okay, well, this is how it typically goes with Florida. They bring in a backup at any position and they kill it. So you're just wondering, like, here we go again. But I think this one's just way too much to overcome.
Today's tough question coming up next. I want to revisit where we ended up yesterday, where we were yesterday when we had the question, who do you want to be the picker, but for College Game Day. But go ahead and I'll give it a little tease. It's going to be about a hated Gator. So help us fill out the poll question on today's tough question. Give me 3 or 4 Gators that you still hate to this day, that you love to hate, and that you'll always hate. More after this. I want to remind you, though, Craft Treats is a fantastic place to take care of your pet. Your little furry one will appreciate the fact that Craft Treats can help alleviate pain from arthritis, can help alleviate anxiety, whether it's storm, car ride, or whatever the case may be. So we're way long, but that's because it's not radio. It's streaming. We can do what we want to. So that's what we love about it. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Tell us about Big Orange Phillies, Mr. Vols, because it's a great place, family environment to watch the game or games this weekend.
Gary Viles here. I want to personally invite you to North Knoxville's newest sports bar and restaurant. It's Big Orange Phillies, located in Black Oak Center. And yes, folks, it's happening in Halls. Big Orange Phillies offers family-friendly environment with homemade meals and the best deli-style subs around. Billiards, darts, jukebox, shuffleboard, and cornhole, and a full bar. We also offer valet parking on weekends and during special events. We even have a covered back patio. It's happening at Big Orange Phillies. We want, we need, and we appreciate your business.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
This is Al's Nest Barbecue Supply, so come on in and see all the different rubs and sauces we have, plus the complete line of Green Mountain grills. Don't be overwhelmed. We have plenty of help so you can produce the best barbecue and amaze your family and friends. Barbecue is America's food. We'll do what we can to bring you all the best products. We're Al's Nest Barbecue, where Chattanooga goes to grill.
Do you want to own the more that owns every job? Then get to Vassey Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassey, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassey's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassey Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
I'll be honest with you, I clicked on the wrong thing because I want to do something special for Amanda. So I messed it up. Here we go. It's a birthday song.
I hear. Thank you. That's very nice. It's like in techno or something. I don't know what that is.
I feel like we should be taking like ecstasy right now.
It's very 80s, which I appreciate because that's when I was born. So.
No, I guess you could play Cool in the Gang for me. So Amanda's birthday is brought to you by the Mattress Place because at some point, parents, the Mattress Place is just on Chapman Highway. It is out of
So awkward.
Chapman Highway, 30 to 70% off each and every day, just a couple of miles from downtown. You hear Chapman Highway, you think it's a long ways away, but it's not. The Mattress Place is A+ accredited member of the Better Business Bureau, over 225 5-star reviews. Guys, I can't tell you enough about the Mattress Place. If you go to one of those big stores or something else, you're going to be disappointed. It is as simple as that. So we want to get to today's tough question. We want to get people to line up because Amanda's got that all set. So today's tough question, how about we do that right now?
Our research. Have you done your research?
We're working like heck.
Today's tough question. What's the real debate?
You sipping my soup, Guadalupe?
Exclusively on Off the Hook Sports with Dave Hooker and Amanda LaFratta.
You drinking my sake, Kimosabi?
Oh my God.
Good gracious. Can I play 3 songs at once? Is that the next
It.
evolution of Off the Hook Sports?
It's impressive.
All right. So today's tough question.
All right.
Amanda came up with it actually on Monday, and we kind of held it because there was a lot going on. So go ahead and throw it out there, Amanda. What is today's tough question?
Okay. First, we wanted to revisit yesterday's tough question.
Yes. Keep me straight. Thank you.
Yes. Yesterday, it was who should be the guest picker for College Game Day in Knoxville. And 49% of people, or 46%, said Dolly Parton. And unfortunately, she's out. She's not coming. She wrote something. It's reported she's not coming.
I wondered if her age, if she were comfortable. There was somebody actually I know in the media who covered Tennessee for a long time, and he said his recall wasn't quite what it used to be, and he wasn't comfortable doing something with us to talk about the good old days. So I thought that in the back of my mind, she might not be comfortable. I would say that at this point in her career, everything is very orchestrated to make sure that she doesn't look bad on camera, and we see that with Lee Corso. So I would hate for that to happen. I love Lee Corso. I'm not knocking him, but so where are the standings then?
So coming up second is Tony Vitello, which I think was that's a good option. I know, weird. He was getting like 0% during the show yesterday, and all of a sudden jumped up to 26%. Then Peyton Manning is 16.4, and Bill Dance is at 11%. So not many fisherman people don't like that.
I don't like that at all. I wish Bill Dance was up there and they could throw a snake on him. Like that one video when he's fishing is the best video you'll ever see. And okay, so what is today's tough question then? What are we doing with that?
Today's tough question is, which Florida Gator do you hate the most?
Okay, so I ask you, our listeners, to go to the message board and post some candidates. So I've got a Spurrier, I've got an Urban Meyer. Anybody else want to throw one in there? I don't think I'm missing one.
Aaron Hernandez.
Well, yeah. He should be hated. Yeah, I wonder if Tim Tebow's in there. I mean, I've got a lot of respect for Tim Tebow. I mean, he still to this day hasn't messed it up, and really almost every athlete does at some point in their lives, especially one that was as public as him. We haven't seen him. I heard one time somebody told me he had a 6-pack of beer in his hotel room. Well, goodness gracious, if that's the worst thing he does, then I think he's fine. So Javon Curse was one. Okay, Javon Curse is a good one because I got a Javon Curse story. Back when you could grab people coming off the field before they would get behind, get behind a podium and be so stilted, and it's just awful. I mean, those press conferences, not just Tennessee's, but mostly they're just a complete waste of time. And that's why we bring you guys like Jacob Warren and Cooper Mays on Off the Hook Sports. And I do remember Javon Curse, and he had a grill, and he was standing on it right in the middle of the tee at the 50-yard line. And I can't remember the quotes exactly, but it was basically, this is our home, this is our place. And he said that right after a win. It's definitely on the distasteful side. It's pretty strong. But I think he could certainly be up there. Yeah, and then Jabbar Gaffney. Well, how about we put hey, Joe, I got an idea for you. Because I don't hate, I mean, there's no reason to hate Jabbar Gaffney. And then we got to hate all Gators. How about the officials, the officials at the Jabbar Gaffney catch? How about that? Can we fit that in? I know we're limited on text because he had it for the officials are the ones that called it a touchdown in Jabbar Gaffney, but we can say Jabbar Gaffney if you want. So you settle on the 4. Today's tough question brought to you by Pedigo Chattanooga, locally owned store where you'll be treated like family, the region's foremost electric bike experts. They put their hearts into helping you find the perfect electric bike, and you'll get the most out of it. And certainly, you need to know before you purchase an e-bike that they got service right there. You buy one of those bikes from an e-commerce store, and you're not going to have anybody to service the thing. I mean, if you don't buy a Pedigo, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Okay, so what are the 4 for today's tough question?
So I think we should go. I think Tim Tebow should be in there. People hated him, and I know he doesn't deserve it necessarily, but people hated Tim Tebow. Hated Tim Tebow. There was a whole drinking game surrounding him.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, so Tebow, Spurrier, Meyer, who else? Jabbar Gaffney? Crazy is saying the refs. How about the Jabbar Gaffney refs? I want to see where that plays.
They're not really a Gator, though, but we can do that. It's fine.
Yeah, we can tweak it a little. How about who do you dislike most in the Tennessee-Florida series? Or hate most? Let's go with hate. Hate's a stronger word. I don't like some good old-fashioned hate.
Who do you hate most?
In the Tennessee-Florida series. Yeah, let's do that. I like that one a lot. Yeah, it's he's crazy said they were Gators that day because Jabbar Gaffney's catch was ruled a touchdown. I'm not going to go quite that far, but that was a very, very odd play that changed the rules. If you remember, you had to have it a little bit longer. Technically, by the rule, that was a touchdown catch, but it certainly didn't look like it. Kind of like the Mona Lisa. Technically, that's a high esteemed piece of art, but I look at it and I think, yeah, big deal. What's going on there? You know, she's not even smiling.
She's half smiling.
Yeah, she's kind of smirking, you know.
Well, that may be why women like her.
Yeah, like she just did something bad or something, you know, like she slashed your tires and hey, you got you. Zool Beer Company, ZoolBeer.com, XUL. ZoolBeer.com is the official craft beer of Off the Hook Sports. Great downtown location, fantastic space, and they've got parking in downtown, which you just can't find. And they've got worldwide award-winning craft beer. That's ZoolBeer.com. All right, so we're going to go with those 4. Let's take a look back at the day. We usually start the show with this. The Down and Dirty at 30, and heck, it's almost 30 because this show's absolutely flying by. We call it quality content. Jabari Small, the injury to his shoulder. I looked at it and I saw him working it out on the sidelines in the recumbent bike, and I thought that there's no question he's going to play. I've still heard that he's going to be fine, but it appears as if there's a little bit of a question because they're talking about putting Princeton Fant for depth at running back. Now, this tells me a couple things, and you tweeted me yesterday how many running backs do they need, and you do have the Lyneth Whitehead who is out to begin the season, so he's not a factor. They have Dylan Sampson who had a bit of an ankle issue. Jabari Small, we talked about the shoulder. So it tells me that they don't feel really good about the group after that. And not so much for this week, but you want to prepare down the line. Now, I don't think Princeton Fant's going to see a significant amount of time at running back. I mean, I think that's just goofy, and I think that's something that you can throw out there. I'm sure he played it in high school at some point, but at the end of the day, you don't really. I don't think you're going to need that unless the Sampson and small injury are more significant than I've been led to believe. A couple other notes that I do want to throw out there is that, again, confidence. You could just feel it from the press conferences. Be sure and hit like and subscribe and turn those notifications on and share, because we've got all the press conference video on our YouTube channel with great quality so that you can be able to hear the questions. I get that comment a lot. So we work out really hard to make sure that that is there for you, because I know that sometimes you can't hear the questions. You're like, they could say this guy's going to win the Heisman Trophy, no doubt. And you're like, who are you talking about? A couple of other notes just from yesterday is that the combination of the back end and the front end is starting to really come together on Tennessee's defense. The back end, according to Trayvon Flowers in the secondary, is able to be much more multiple now and disguise coverages. And he said it's a tremendous difference from what they were able to do last year. So that's a big thing, especially against a mostly inexperienced quarterback like Anthony Richardson against Florida. But moving forward, it's going to help Tennessee in a number of games. And this, I thought, was pretty funny. A fan was arrested for allegedly throwing a water bottle at Cleveland Browns owner Jimmy Haslam in the final moments of Sunday's loss to the New York Jets. He was arrested Sunday on complaints of assault, failure to comply with a lawful order, and disorderly conduct. Is that a Tennessee tradition, throwing stuff at people during games? Because we've seen it now during a Diamond Vols. I believe it was the regional, not the super. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's just the regional. And we saw it during the Ole Miss game. I don't understand what goes. If you throw, has anybody that's on our message board right now thrown something at the field during a game? And be honest, because most of you are anonymous. And if you have, I'm not going to rip you. But what the H? I mean, I just don't understand that at all. I mean, I've been as frustrated as at a football game as anybody, Amanda, but it's never even crossed my mind, hey, I'm going to chuck something at you.
No, I don't typically. And I'm going to say Tennessee fans have been throwing things, not necessarily on the field, but at other fans, because I just know, because I've been there. I've been
yeah. Well, no, I think that's across the board. I had stuff thrown at me when I was a student that went down to Florida to see a game. That's so I think that, well, yeah, but I think that's across the board when emotions get high. But to throw it,
I'm just letting you know, never hit.
It's because you're quick and shifty. You're like Dylan.
No, I didn't even have to move. It's because the accuracy was just not there.
Oh, was it one of these throws? Oh, because there
were multiple throws, and they all missed.
Not cool. All right, so, but to throw towards the field seems.
I don't. Yeah. It's a water bottle, Jimmy Haslam. Calm down. Like it's not gonna even shift your facelift. Calm down. Like it's a water bottle. It's not like somebody threw a grenade at you. They threw a water bottle. For you to go this crazy about somebody throwing a water bottle just shows what kind of insecure person that you are. Just know, I mean, if somebody throws a water bottle at me, oh no. I mean, who cares? It's a water bottle. You don't have to go after his entire livelihood because he threw a water bottle.
No. But
stupid.
Well, and in some cases, I mean, you say livelihood. I mean, if that brought bad light to his company, I mean, that.
I don't think it's going to bring bad light considering the pilot situation. I think.
Oh no! I meant the guy that threw it. Like if I'm an employer, and I am, and somebody does really something incredibly stupid and it's in the paper, you have to at least think about if you want that person representing your company.
I know. And so to go after this dude and it's just stupid. It's a water bottle. He didn't pull a gun on you. He didn't. I mean, I think, is it a dumb thing to do? Yes, it's a dumb thing to do, but is it worth everything that is happening to this guy? No, I don't think it is. And back to the Jabari Small running back thing with Princeton Fant, I just think that Josh Heupel might be playing 6D chess over here. Just let Florida wonder who's going to be there, because you have so many options, and you're even bringing in, somebody else that doesn't play running back, and you're saying, here's like 6 options you got, figure it out.
Yeah. That's a possibility. You know what? The other thing that told me, I'm really glad you brought us back to that, because I forgot to mention this. It tells me that Justin Williams-Thomas is just not even close to ready to play. I mean, isn't he wouldn't physically, running wise, there's more to it, like pass protection, even route running in this offense. But wouldn't he be the guy that, and you're going into game 4, you have to decide whether or not you're redshirting. You said that he would redshirt way early in the season, maybe even after the first week. And I thought, well, no, he's too talented. But at this point, you've really got to start to wonder.
I mean, that's what it's looking like. They're going to redshirt him.
I'm going to do some more digging, because we were all talking about Justin Williams-Thomas, and now we're not, which just seems really odd to me. So the game Saturday at 3:30, I wrote some key factors on offthehooksports.com, and I think Tennessee, as you would expect, by a 10.5 point favorite, being that it has every opportunity to win the game, should win the game, but goodness knows we have been down that road before. I want to get to those key points that basically the way that Florida has to win, and it's pretty difficult. The gap, after looking at some Florida tape, I've watched all of Tennessee, but after looking at some Florida tape, I think it's really difficult, and especially with Ventrell Miller probably out at this point, with 2 guys that cover them telling us that. So we'll get to my ways that Tennessee could slip up and lose to Florida after this. 2 minutes. Tell us about Vols Automotive Group, Mr. Vols.
It's Gary Viles here, Viles Automotive on Callahan Drive. I've been selling cars here in East Tennessee for 27 years. In that time, I've come to realize it's not about the car. It's about you, the customer. So I'm here to take care of you just like family. Good credit, bad credit, you name it, we can get you taken care of. If we don't have it, we can find it for you. We go across the country to get any vehicle that you want. And here at Viles Automotive, we don't believe in fake numbers. We just give you great deals. And as always, we want, we need, and we appreciate your business.
Do you want to own the more that owns every job? Then get to Vassy Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassy, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassy's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassy Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
This is Steve Rain. I own the Midnight Oil and Michelin Tire Direct service station here in Ooltewah. It's not a fancy place, never has been, but it's a clean place with clean restrooms and good folks who work here. We sell gas and fix cars, nothing glamorous, but we love what we do, and we're going to keep doing it for a long time to come. There's not many real service stations left, and that's a shame. We're the guys just like the guys back in your hometown. We'll fix your tire, change your oil, and put a new set of Michelins on your car. If you want a Twinkie, you'll just have to keep on going. Thanks for the business.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
favorite band.
Not even close for me. I agree. And then suddenly the Rolling Stones come in.
Yeah, that's not the right. That doesn't seem right to me. I don't like that.
And then Run DMC.
I don't like that.
Well,
I don't think we're supposed to say the names. I think that's part of the deal.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we got copyright issues.
And I don't know who that is back there. This is awful.
I love it. I mean, it's goofy.
How?
But nevertheless. Bassey Lawn and Garden, man alive, it's worth the drive. Bassey Lawn and Garden. They've got the commercial mowers, industrial mowers. They've got it all right there at Bassey Lawn and Garden. So Tennessee has a new football schedule for 2023. Everything got shifted around. Why? Because Oklahoma and Texas were coming in, and Tennessee and Georgia had dates with those teams, but they were not going to be able to, because they're coming in at 2024, they were not going to be able to hold up their end of the home and home. So the schedule gets shifted a year before, which is incredibly unusual. That doesn't happen a lot. Hit that like and subscribe button. Please share. So let's look at Tennessee's schedule. Now I want to get to the ways that Tennessee can, blow it. Because I think Tennessee wins. I think Tennessee wins fairly comfortably. So I want to get to some keys to the game and through some research. And you can check it out on offthehooksports.com. But let's start with the schedule, Amanda. And it is very, very Tennessee heavy. But as far as sizzle, with Oklahoma off of it, it doesn't have a lot. So you start off with Virginia, and that game will be played in Nashville, so you're in state. And then after the opening in-state game against Virginia, first time since the 91 Sugar Bowl, they'll host 7 games at Neyland Stadium. And so they will head on to, it'll be Austin P, as I can just barely see this. Let me see. I don't know if my screen's fuzzy or not, but
I couldn't tell what half of those, not half, like a couple of those logos or whatever for the teams. I couldn't tell what they were. I was like, I don't know who that is. This orange bird.
Well, and it's so
orange bird.
Well, and it's so weird too, because these schedules are in advance, and everything the SEC does is just so incredibly buttoned up. It's strange to just have it. I mean, we've seen people get replaced before, but I don't think that we've ever seen anything like this, even remotely, where the whole schedule gets shifted around. Yeah. So
I don't think it happened with Missouri and Texas A&M coming in. Did they shift everybody's schedule around?
No, I think that was way better planned out.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is one of those situations where it just kind of happens. So let's go through the schedule a little bit more. And so the Virginia game, does that have sizzle like an Oklahoma game? It definitely does not. One of the things that's very significant about the schedule is the fact that Georgia will be moved back later in the season. So Georgia won't be played until, the Vols will play their Final Four contest in Neyland Stadium. UConn and Tennessee face off for the first time on November 14th. After a November 11th road match at Missouri, the Vols welcome Georgia and Vanderbilt to Neyland Stadium. So that is way late. Way late.
Tennessee plays UConn on the 4th of November.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you said the 14th. The 4th of November.
Yeah, you're right. So that was a typo there by me. So the November 18th contest against Georgia is the latest calendar date between the two teams since a scoreless tie on November 21st, 1906 in Athens, just the 10th meeting between the Bulldogs and the Vols in the month of November. Now, I always said that the Tennessee-Florida game should be towards the end of the schedule. And Amanda, Florida didn't want that. they didn't want to come to Tennessee when it was cold, and Florida at the time with Steve Spurrier had more pull than Tennessee did. But the way this sets up potentially, Billy Napier may build a juggernaut. I don't know. But right now, the two teams that I think the stock are rising the highest, and Georgia's already there, but is Tennessee and Georgia. So to play in November could determine who goes to the SEC championship game in the East. So that is the one thing I come away from this schedule, and I really, really like. I like a lot because I think that's kind of cool that you could be playing for an SEC East bid. That to me is really neat. It'll be September 16th. Tennessee will open SEC play on the road against Florida in Gainesville. Again, we're talking about 2023. And then September 23 launches a 2-week stretch of home games as University of Texas San Antonio visits Neyland Stadium, followed by the Vols' SEC home opener against South Carolina. You were saying?
That's the UTSA was the Orange Bird that I didn't know what the Orange Bird was, and that's UTSA, University of Texas San Antonio. I don't know about the Georgia thing, or no, the Florida thing being moved or playing Georgia later in the season. If I were Tennessee, I would want to play those games earlier in the season to prevent, I would want an harder time at the beginning and an easier time towards the end, just because of injuries' sake. If you lose somebody massive before those games happen, you're looking at a blown season. That's my outlook on it. I would rather go ahead when I'm healthy, play those teams, get it out of the way, and then coast on through with like a Vandy, a Missouri, no offense, South Carolina, to wrap up my SEC season. That's just my thoughts.
Well, I'm looking at it from a perspective of what's the most dramatic, the best content. So by playing Georgia, there could be an awful lot on the line. And really the Florida game, so many years covering Tennessee's program, it was like this, like a punch in the gut. It was like a Mike Tyson fight with build up and you get knocked out in 90 seconds, because then Florida would have to lose 2 SEC games, and they weren't going to because there wasn't a great Alabama team out there that they were playing. And there wasn't anybody else significant in the SEC East. So it's kind of like your season was almost over as far as national title hopes at the end of September if you lose that game. So that's why I like the Georgia game at the end of the year, not from either team's perspective. I just like it for content. I think it's better at the end of the year for the drama of it and the buildup. I go back to the 2001 game that Pat Dooley mentioned, who covers Florida, and the buildup to that game was just unbelievably tremendous because that was moved because of 9/11 to the end of the year, and it was essentially a quarterfinal playoff game. Because if you won that, you went to the SEC championship game, and both teams were so highly rated that whoever won that game was going to go to the national championship game and play Miami and probably lose. That Miami team was loaded in the Rose Bowl. But still, it had a different drama. And I think that's what college football is trying to do with the expanded playoff. And I think there's a lot of potential there. Now, until somebody catches up with Georgia and Alabama, or Kirby Smart slips up and gets caught with an exotic dancer or something, and Nick Saban retires, then I don't know that that's going to happen. But that's what you want. I mean, you want those meaningful games at the end of the year. So I think you get that with Tennessee, Georgia. Tennessee could lose to Florida early in the year and still have the potential to represent the East if they were to beat Georgia. Now, Georgia's really good, and I think they're going to be really good for a long time, but you're telling me there's a chance, like Dumb and Dumber. There was no chance if you lost to Florida in September.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I know that's not bad for, media coverage or journalism or anything like that. I guess I'm one of those people that I'd rather just know early. I just want to get it over with. If we're going to make it, we're going to make it. If we're not, we're not. Let me know in September so I can plan accordingly. Because if I know in September we're not making it, I could go ahead and book my trip to wherever in, December and January, knowing that I'm not going to have any kind of conflict going on because my team is not going anywhere.
And I want to say this real quick. So, if Tennessee beats Florida on Saturday, we can debate whether or not you want an expanded college football playoff. Maybe you don't like it. Maybe you don't think it's fair. And I'm not talking about you. I'm saying as Amanda, I'm talking you as rhetorically. But you can't argue with the fact that it would be great content and incredible to talk about for Tennessee fans, because at that point, you take care of your business and you're in a college football playoff. I mean, that would be your biggest struggle. You could still get hammered by Alabama. You could probably even get beat by Georgia and still make a 12-team playoff and have a pretty good argument. And then who knows what happens in a winner-take-all game. It's not going to be like March Madness. You're not going to have that many upsets because football is just not that kind of sport. But there is that potential. So hope it would be alive for not only Tennessee if they were to win on Saturday, if a college football playoff were currently in place, but hope would be alive for dozens of teams with a big win in September. So that's what I love about the college football playoff. I love the fact that there are going to be home games as well for those teams that are ranked higher. I like everything about it. I do like the fact that you have to continue to play hard and try to get that bye, because the last thing I think you would want is to go into the Iron Bowl, for instance. Not implying this is going to happen because there's too much tradition, but let's say Alabama's 11-0 and they go into the Iron Bowl and they've got a couple of guys that are a little bit gimpy. Do they rest them because they know they're already in the SEC championship game and they're already in the college football playoff? I don't want that to happen. So you have the incentive to go out there and be one of the top 4 ranked teams. I'm probably a critic at heart, Amanda, but I love the way they set it up. I don't know that you and I've gone real in depth. What are your thoughts before we get to some keys to the game for the Vols on Saturday?
So are we talking the way they set it up now, or are we talking about how they're going to set it up in the future with the 12 teams?
With the 12 teams, yeah.
Okay. So the thing about the 12 teams is I think we're going to see exactly what you said, is that at the Alabama-Auburn game, why risk these players if you're already in? So I think that's what's going to happen. Losing to Auburn is not going to drop Alabama that far down to make him not in. You rest those players like we see in the NFL. They rest those players when it comes down to the games right before the playoffs if they know they're already in the playoffs. So if Alabama is sitting at 1, I think Saban would rest the players, hands down.
I don't think you would. I think you would look for an opportunity to get better. I don't know. And let's take Saban out of it. Just any school that's number 1, whether it's Georgia, whoever, do you rest players at the end of the year? I hope we don't get that far. I don't think you will, because you want that first round bye and or you want the home game. So I don't think you're going to see that, because there's incentive to move forward. And you see that in the NFL. Teams that are still playing for home field don't rest their players. But teams that it's completely locked up, yeah, they rest their players. I can't see a scenario where that would play out in the current format, but you never know. I see it.
I could see it, as in, say Georgia's number 1. They're number 1 across the board. And who's their last game? Is it Georgia Tech? Is that their last game? Is it always in state rivalry? I can't remember.
Are we talking about Georgia? Yes.
Yeah, Georgia Tech. So you're going up against Georgia Tech. You know you're going to beat Georgia Tech. Like, Vanderbilt could really go head-to-head with Georgia Tech right now. You know you're going to beat them. You're sitting at number 1. Even if you lose that game, you're still at a 1 loss. You go to the SEC championship, you beat that team, you're still sitting at number 1. Like, you're going to have the home field advantage. So I could see that situation playing out very easily because you're going in the SEC championship and you're going to make the top 12.
I think it'd be a case-by-case basis. If you were, I think you'd still blow Georgia Tech out. Let's say there's a 12-team playoff this year. Georgia goes in undefeated, and they're playing Georgia Tech. I think you'd still blow them out. You might sub a little bit earlier than you would otherwise to protect from injury. I still think you play your starters to start the game. And I say that because there is incentive to be in that top 4. So if you were to slip to 5, suddenly you don't have a bye. If you're a team that wants to rest some starters and you're at 7, you better not, because then you could lose home field advantage in the first round. So we'll see. Owl's Nest Barbecue in Ooltewah is all about barbecue. Slow cooking is what it's about. And they've got the sauces and the rubs at Owl's Nest Barbecue. They are absolutely unbelievable. And those Green Mountain grills are top notch. Can't say enough about them. That is Owl's Nest Barbecue. Also right next door, Steve Ray's Midnight Oil. And they are there for you. So how about a little message board bingo here momentarily? First, let me run through the way that Florida can pull the upset. And there's a couple of different things. I think that Anthony Richardson will have to make plays with his legs in order to upset Tennessee. However, that all comes back on Tennessee. If they protect their rush lanes, if they have good gap integrity, you're not going to see that happen. I would almost play it like Patrick Mahomes was played late last year, and that was drop 7, let's say, and have 4 guys that are more mindful of containing him than they are necessarily sacking him. I know that sounds weird. You don't necessarily want to sack a quarterback, but when you start thinking sack first and sack only, you open up gaps for him to be able to beat you on the ground if coverage is good. Ventrell Miller, I wrote about. I think he's Florida's most valuable defender. So when I wrote this, I said if he plays against Tennessee, we've been led to believe by 2 people that cover Florida that he will not play. Huge blow if he doesn't play. As far as the Gators and their ground game, they want to run the football. They average 212 rushing yards per game, 5th best in the SEC. That will shorten the game. Tennessee's defense, though, is 4th best in the SEC against the run, just allowing 83 yards per game. But again, we're talking about Ball State and Akron in there, so I don't think the stats really tell a true story yet. Probably will in a couple of weeks. And give Florida credit with this. They don't get hit with significant penalties. The Gators, 38 yards per game in penalties is tied for best in the SEC. They've lost just 1 fumble. They don't make a lot of mistakes, and they're even in the turnover margin. Florida could make mistakes and beat themselves, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think Tennessee has to beat them pretty straight up, and I think they will. It is time for Message Board Bingo. Message Board Bingo is your opportunity to win a T-shirt. How about that? If you can tell me before I tell you who posted on this message board, what message board it was on, what school we're talking about, then I'm going to hook you up with a T-shirt. Message Board Bingo is now, Amanda LaFratta.
All right, so we have 4 today. And today's headline, QB Ryan Tannehill bench for rookie Malik Willis. If Tannehill is done with his pro career, I think he would make a great offensive coordinator if we do, in fact, add one after this season. Has played receiver and QB, has a ton of pro experience, and could probably evaluate and recruit great offensive players.
South Carolina.
You didn't even give anyone time. That's wrong, but you didn't give anybody time.
Well, I'm proud of myself I thought I was getting good at it. All right, so you got 5 seconds. Guys, if you want to post on there, and you got 3 seconds. All right, I don't know. Who is it?
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M. All
Always
right.
with the dumb things. Always with the dumb things. All right. So
Let's go. Part 2. Oh, Brandon said Texas A&M. I'm going to say that Brandon got it in there in time. So, Brandon, if you want to email me at dave@offthehooksports.com, I will hook you up with a T-shirt. So be sure and email me. All righty. Let's see if we can work a couple more in here. Here we go.
all right. I know it's this team hate week. Blah, blah, blah. We own those inbreds. On to more important topics. Could ants overtake the world if they joined together and evolved intellectually? I say yes. They give 3 reasons why and then a conclusion.
Sounds like somebody egg-headed would say. Gosh, I guess I'll give our people a chance to get on board there. And somebody's saying no. Oh, Chris says Florida. Is it Florida?
It is Florida.
Good job, Florida, or Chris. Florida is the answer. Email me at dave@offthehooksports.com, and I'll hook you up with a T-shirt. How sweet is that? All right. I got time for one more of these. You said 4, but we get.
All right, one more.
Here we go.
All right. Florida is Missouri wearing Gator helmets. They're not good.
I think I know who this is. I think that's an exaggeration. You better be careful. I think you're a little overconfident there. Hey, you got 5 seconds on the message board. Crazy says Tennessee. I think it's Tennessee.
It is Tennessee.
Yeah. All right. Email me, dave@offthehooksports.com. And I'm going to go ahead and type my email in there. Also, I'm excited to say we're going to start an email chain in which I really want to interact with you and be able to talk about things that are pertinent to you, topics. I find that I've come up with the best story ideas over my career as far as things that are unique by doing a radio show. So it's cyclical. It feeds into that. So then I do a little bit of research and hopefully I put together something that's readable. That's the goal. So we're gonna have an email chain where it's going to be select. I mean, we're not going to have like 5,000 people in it, but those that provide good insight. I'm going to build an email chain. So if you want to be a part of that, we can do that. So if it starts to clog up my business email, though, it might be something else at offthehooksports.com one day, but we'll get there and we'll determine that at that point. This day in sports history, I'm brought to you by our friends at City Heating and Air Conditioning. City Heat and Air, that is, wow, 50 years of integrity. Think about that, 50 years. So City Heating and Air Conditioning actually started, let me think. They started about 20 years before I was born. So I'm 32 now. Right? Can you back me on that?
Yeah, I'm 4 years older than you are.
Yeah. So that's that. This day in sports history. Thought you'd be nicer to me.
I know, that's right. What? I said
yes.
4 years older.
We should just open it up to our posters. How old do you think I am?
Well, you said how old you are.
Yeah, I am 48 years old. So as far as this day in sports history, wow, it's kind of a sad one. Florence Griffith Joyner, American sprinter, I do remember this, died of an epileptic seizure at 38 years old. So that's absolutely horrible. As far as some birthdays that might be out there, you have Rick Mahorn of the Detroit Pistons, which was a fun player to watch if you like those bad boy jerks that beat the heck out of the Celtics and everybody else. So, okay. Yeah.
I have one.
Bunch of jerks.
I have
what do you got?
That's not as crazy. Or it's crazy, but
hopefully
not as sad.
Hopefully it's more pertinent. I absolutely just destroyed it. I didn't do any good at all. Go ahead.
The only way it's pertinent is I think we talked about him this show, so I'm bringing it back. 1988, Mike Tyson smashes TV camera outside his New Jersey home. That's about it.
Do you not feel like we're closing in on another Mike Tyson incident? I mean, I know he smokes a lot of pot now, and he's supposed to be more centered, but I feel like at any point that we could be talking about a Mike Tyson incident. I really feel like that could happen. Just really at any point.
I don't know. I think maybe
I'm going to put the over-under by the end of the year.
another, we have to determine what an incident is.
Well, like didn't he punch that guy on a plane because the guy was being a jerk?
Like a violent incident? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Violent, loses his temper. That's exactly the type of incident.
Violent. Okay. Because anything's an incident.
It's 100% the kind of incident I'm talking about. So I'm going to go over under is end of the year. We're in September. So
I'd take the over on that. I don't think we're going to have one.
He's just that stoned. I mean, the airplane thing was just last year. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, maybe he's increased his weed intake since it's become legal everywhere. For the most part.
He's Delta 8'ing it. By the way, you don't have to Delta 8 to have a fantastic time at Big Orange Phillies. No need for that at all. Big Orange Phillies is phenomenal for a place to watch the game that is family friendly. You don't get that a lot, but that's Big Orange Phillies. And they've got billiards and darts and karaoke and everything you can imagine. It's Big Orange Phillies in North Knoxville. Check them out. And they're close to Maynardville. They're close to Powell, Carnes, all those places. And you can enjoy Big Orange Phillies, again, in that family environment, which is pretty cool. The food's fantastic. I love the wings. So,
And the Phillies.
we leave you with this. Happy birthday, Amanda LaFratta.
Thank you.
Everybody has 30 seconds to tell Amanda a quick birthday wish before we get out of here. 30 seconds. Want to hear the message board. How many can we get?
That's putting people on the spot.
It is. And I'm sorry, I've got things to do. Well, enjoy the time with you. And we'll be back
not have to do that.
8:30 tomorrow morning, and we'll have full coverage of Josh Heupel's appearance on the SEC teleconference, which is later today, thanks to Caleb Calhoun. Tomorrow in the program, we'll have John Adams, so it'll be a lot of fun. Crazy says, happy birthday, Amanda. G. Smith says, happy birthday, Amanda.
Thank you, G. Smith.
Chris says, happy birthday, Amanda.
Thank you.
I say, happy birthday, Amanda. This has been a production of